right. Okay. So Haley, Josh, and Sierra, this is Dr. Krish Sharrock. I always forget how to say your name. I'm so sorry. And he's going to be answering some questions today. So do you want to go ahead and just tell them a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Hi guys, it's nice to meet you all virtually. I think that the club you all have going on is pretty awesome. I wish there was something like this back when I was in school. It's a great way for you all to network and to get your questions answered and to have a resource to get to know other people in the community and basically really figure out if this is really what you want to do or not. I'll give you a little bit of my background, and then that way that may stem some questions off of that. You guys are welcome to ask me any questions that you want, and I'll do my best to answer them. I'll go through my background. So I am from Winchester, Kentucky. I was born outside on the West Virginia line in a city called Bluefield. Moved to Kentucky, Winchester area when I was about 9 years old, and I've lived here ever since. I went to GRC, George Rogers Clark High School, was a 3-sport athlete, signed a Division I scholarship. My wife is texting me frantically here. Hold on one second. Are any of y'all married? You would know the struggle. There we go. Okay. All right. So went to GRC, three sport athlete, signed a Division I scholarship to play football coming out of school, signed at a college called Holy Cross, which is up in Worcester, Massachusetts. And from there, ended up finishing my college career, football career at Georgetown College, where I majored in exercise science. At that point in time, I had some injuries, got banged up a little bit. And that led to me being involved with some good PTs, some good sports medicine staff, athletic trainers. And I knew I wanted to do something in the sports realm. I didn't know at that point in time if I wanted to go the strength coach route, be a GA and try to work myself up that way, or if I wanted to go in the rehab direction. And really felt led to the rehab direction. I really didn't apply to PT school until kind of right near the deadline. It was very different back then. Didn't have the whole PT cast thing and all that. Really, you just applied to each school and you had to, whatever each school's requirements were, you submitted it at that point in time, like you write to them, not one main database. So I went, and I actually didn't even have all the prereqs done for PT school. I went to them and I said, I'm interested. I think this may be a good fit for me. I don't have all of these classes done yet, but I think I could get them done if I got accepted in the program. So I submitted. He said, go ahead and do it. So I went ahead and submitted all that in and actually got accepted into the program. I had to take a couple classes over the summer to get ready for the semester and got in and went from there. While I was at Georgetown, I also got involved in some research in the exercise science department too. So I had kind of a background in that. Had a really high GPA and had a lot of other community involvement. So that helped me as well as far as getting into PT school. A lot of it is really, it comes down to who you know, what your volunteer time is, and what you've done to separate yourself from other people. So I was fortunate enough to get an opportunity at UK. I went to the Lexington campus. From there, really kind of followed more of like a sports medicine track. I tried to involve myself with anybody's sports medicine that I could while I was there. Dr. Terry Malone, Tim Uhl, a lot of great faculty that they have there. My rotations. So the way PT school worked when I was there is that your more intensive rotations were towards the end of the program. And they were competitive. You didn't just get what you wanted. The professors would kind of, they knew who they wanted to put in different spots and who they trusted to go where. So there were a couple big sports medicine rotations that I wanted. I ended up getting both of them. One was at Cincinnati Sports Medicine which is a very well-known clinic up there, very big clinic at the time when I was coming out. And when I was there, they were working with a lot of professional teams in the area, all kinds of high schools, all the local colleges and all that they were involved in. So they had athletes fly in from really all over the world to see some of their doctors. I got to see, a really wide variety of different things, and people that were kind of on their last leg, like last opportunity to save their knee. And so I got to see a lot of cool stuff there. Also went to Methodist Sports Medicine, which is up in Indianapolis, Indiana. The same kind of deal, very well-respected physicians and PT group that worked with all kinds of high-level athletes, the Indianapolis Colts. They had a surgery site right there in the building where they would, like, players for the Colts would come in and have a knee surgery, and they'd keep them in there it's almost like a little hospital overnight. We'd provide care, late at night, early in the morning. So it was a pretty cool experience to kind of see the way that, like, the higher level sports medicine stuff works with that respect. So I did all that, graduated from PT school, got married towards the end of PT school, decided I was going to stay in the area. So when I got out of PT school, I took the best sports medicine opportunity that I had, which was working with another well-known PT in the Lexington area. I took a job in Lexington. Shortly after I did that PT actually developed another practice and moved away. So that kind of left me in limbo. At that point in time, I actually went to Court. You all have probably heard of that, KORT, Court PT in Winchester. So I'm a local guy, worked really hard to kind of carve out a sports niche there. While I'm there, I took the SCS, which is the Sports Certified Specialist exam, which basically is like a board specialty in sports PT. Also got into dry needling, did all the credentialing for that. I was already a certified strength and conditioning specialist through the NSCA. So I already had that in the works too. I had already started my own sports performance business, which I started while I was at Georgetown. So I had that going for a long time, where I worked with, mostly high school athletes, some younger, a few college, a few, that were pro level, but nobody like, big name wise. But so I'd already been doing the sports performance stuff. So I kept doing that while I was at Court. Stayed there for about 6 years. Also in the process of that, I started my own company in combination with my sports performance company, where I was doing rehab for home health. So I had home health contracts through that business as well. I was still doing outpatient clinical work as well. So I did that until about 2016, when I actually partnered with a local entity here in Winchester, and we opened up Clark County Physical Therapy and Rehab, which is an outpatient physical therapy clinic. That clinic took off and really grew extremely fast, much quicker than was anticipated. And we kind of outgrew the partnership to where the other entity just couldn't keep up anymore. So from there, I rebranded us and named us Resilience PT. And that's where we are now. We've been about 3.5 years as Resilience. We're an outpatient orthopedic clinic. We see a wide variety of everything. We see athletes. We see older folks who have dizziness and balance issues. We see people who had knee replacements. You name it. We see injured workers, car wrecks, neck and back pain, pretty much anything you can imagine from a rehab standpoint. We see it. So I'm really proud of the team that we've got at Resilience. Taylor is actually a member of that team. But our mission essentially at Resilience is to help people overcome adversity. And I think that's really, as far as the physical therapy profession goes, that's what sets us apart as a group. I just can't think of any other profession where you have the ability to literally change the course of someone's life as far as giving them back the ability to move and the ability to regain function in some way that they may have lost. So it's just it's a powerful profession. And it's one that requires a servant's heart. It's not a profession where you're going to expect to make, millions of dollars and, be glamorous and be famous. It's just not that kind of profession. It takes somebody who really wants to change the lives of other people to be successful in it. But yeah, it's one of those things that it's a service profession. And I think everybody that before you go into this profession, you need to really check yourself at the door and say, why am I doing this? If you're wanting to make tons of money, probably not the best profession for you. Now you're going to make good money and you're going to do well for yourself and all that. And there's tons of opportunities to advance. But it's a service profession and it's something that you really want to make sure you're committed to. What I would recommend to each and every one of you guys is make sure that you do as much observation or work in physical therapy settings to really make sure this is what you want to do. I've seen a lot, even classmates of mine that came out of the DPT, the Doctor of Physical Therapy program, as doctors of PT that practiced for like 2 years, and they're like, this is really just not what I want to do. You don't want to be that person. This is an expensive endeavor, and it takes a lot of time of your life. You really, before you go into PT school, I would recommend doing as much observation, as much work as you can actually in the trenches to get a better idea to make sure that this is what you want to do. That'd be my number one piece of advice to you guys for sure. Shadow, do everything that you can to do that. A couple other things that I just want to touch on with you guys, and then I'll just let you guys ask me questions. I think PT schools are popping up everywhere now. There's way more PT schools than like when I went to, there was only UK and there was Bellarmine. That was it. And now there's like PT schools popping up everywhere, even in Kentucky and the surrounding states. So it's becoming easier to get into somewhere. But some of these schools are crazy expensive. And what I would tell you all is that if I was looking to hire one of you all, I could care less where you went to school, to be honest with you. Just to be straight up and honest with you, I could care less. I want to know what kind of person you are. I want to talk to your references. Your grades and all that are important, but I want to know more about you. So when you're looking to choose your school, I would go with the cheapest option, PT school, that meets your other needs as far as like location and that sort of thing. Don't worry about trying to go to some high profile school and that sort of thing. It's really not worth the additional expense in the long term. And when you're taking on a lot of debt, which most of you will, it's to your benefit to go to the school that meets your needs, but is also the most economically efficient for you. Okay. And I know that's, there's lots of different variables that play into that, but I think that's super, super important. The other thing that I was going to just touch on is, and you guys have heard this previously, but as somebody that manages lots of other people on a daily basis and has been involved in hiring lots of people, it's important that you guys are understanding what people are looking for in the rehab world when they hire somebody. And for me, when I'm looking at hiring technicians or other PTs, even front office staff, I'm looking for somebody who is a team player. I'm looking for somebody who wants to fully commit to the mission of the team and be there to support everyone else on the team and isn't in it completely for themselves. Yes, it's important, how your contract's set up and all that. All that isn't certainly important, but the biggest thing that employers are looking for is they're looking for good team players who aren't bringing their selfishness into a situation. You want somebody who's going to show up every day and be completely committed to helping the team, and to understand, just like in sports, if you don't do your job when you're playing, if you're playing basketball, you're playing football, if one person doesn't do their job, it leaves the rest of the team at risk for getting beat. So I think as an employer, I'm constantly looking for who's the person that I can put in this position that is going to support the rest of the team and is going to hold their stance here and do what they're supposed to do. So I think that's something for you guys to keep in mind. Also, just like you do in anything else, do more than other people and don't ask for more, just do more. And I promise you, when you do more and when you take those extra steps, not only are you going to get better because of doing that, everyone else notices it. Everyone else knows that you're that person. People start to feed off of you. You become a leader, and then you'll advance. And that's how you put yourself ahead of other people in the long run, is by doing more than them, doing the things that they're not willing to do. And employers will notice that. Other professionals will notice that. And that's really how you create separation between yourself and other people. So that's just a few things. I think I've touched on pretty much. Maybe one more thing I'll talk about, and this is more for just putting your memory bank for once you kind of get out of PT school. You want to be in school, you're trained to be just a generalist. You're trained to treat, everything head to toe. You're trained in neurological things. You're trained in orthopedic. You're trained in spine conditions. You're trained in basically everything, but you have kind of just a generalist approach to that. Once you get out of PT school and you've got that good generalist foundation, the way that medicine and the way that rehab in general is changing is that it's really focusing on developing a niche. So you want to think about that as you're going through PT school. And again, put this in your memory bank. Yes, you want to be the best generalist you can be, but you want to start thinking about, how can I specialize? What really drives me? What can I be better than everybody else in? Is it women's health, pelvic floor therapy? Is it dry needling? Is it golf? Is it a specific sport? There's all kinds of really specific niches that you can develop. Is it manipulation and hands-on manual therapy? There's all kinds of ways that you can really separate yourself and become the best in that area. And that's really the way that medicine and just rehab in general is changing. It's going to where everything's more specialized. In the PT world, there are actually residencies now. So after you get out of PT school, you can go into a residency, which would guide you into like a deeper understanding of, for example, there are sports PT residencies after PT school. And those people, their objective is to come out of that program with their SCS, which is what I have, the sports board certification. And it's a structured program where they actually get paid a lesser amount, but they get paid and they go through school and training and all that while they're basically on the job. So there's lots of those programs in all kinds of different areas, geriatrics, pediatrics, all kinds of things. So just something to keep in mind is think about really what your passion is, and the more that you shadow, the more that you observe, the more that you work, the better chance you'll have of figuring that out quicker than other people who don't. So I think that's probably enough of me rambling on about different stuff. Hopefully you guys have a few questions, and I'll be happy to answer anything that you have.
All right, does anyone have any questions?
I'll ask a question.
Sure.
Excuse me. I think a lot of us, or the members of this organization, are kind of in the interview phase. So I was wondering, what are some tips or guidance you could give us, or those who are kind of in that interview process?
That's a fantastic question. The interview process is where so many people go in unprepared. Do not go into those interviews unprepared. Okay. The best way that I can tell you to prepare for your interviews is to know your resumes and your background, your experiences like the back of your hand, and be able to speak from experiences when you answer questions. So I had an excellent mentor while I was in undergrad that taught me an interview system to use, and I've used it so many times before. But basically, it's called the STAR system. It's nothing elaborate. You guys have probably heard of it. But what STAR stands for, it stands for situation or task. So you identify a situation or a task that you've had previously. You identify the action that you took, and then you identify the result of that action. And then basically for any questions that you're given on your strengths, your weaknesses, anything relating to anything you've done in your background, you just simply, you pull out those examples that you've already got set in your mind, and that you've already studied over and over again, different situations or tasks that you've handled or different roles that you've had, and you can openly discuss those experiences as you answer questions. So rather than just giving like generic answers like, oh, I think I'm, good at, communicating with people or that sort of thing, you can say, here's an example of why I'm good at communicating with people. I was a member of the pre-PT club at EKU. I was elected by my peers as the vice president. That entailed me doing this, and this on a regular basis. As a result, we were able to grow our club by 20 members. And so you can see where I'm going with this. Being able to use your experiences and actually provide proof for what separates you from other people. But use that STAR system. And what I would do before interviews, and I would do this now if I had an interview, I would sit down and I would detail out what my core values were, what things I think I'm the best at. And then I would have a list of different examples already mapped out. So I'd already have them memorized in my head. And as soon as I got that question, I would just boom, nail it right there with however many examples I needed to prove my point. Same thing for like if you get questions about your weaknesses, identify what you think your weaknesses are, but of course put your spin on it on how you're working to improve those sorts of things. So you don't want to say, I'm terrible with my time management. That's not a good thing to say. You want to say, I've had some struggles with my time management before. For example, I had this situation. I didn't do as well as I wanted to do, but as a result of that, I learned this is how I need to approach it now. And this is what I do now so that I fix that situation. So really speaking from situational and experience will set you apart. Don't go into an interview just giving generic answers. Be ready to talk about yourself. In an interview, you have to talk about yourself. You can't be afraid of bragging or boasting. Like you got to talk about yourself and put everything that you've done out there so that you have the best chance to separate from other people.
That honestly helped tremendously. Like I hate interviews and I never know kind of how to approach them, but the STAR method, I think that will help a lot. Thank you.
Yeah. And, it takes a lot of the anxiety and nervousness out of an interview, because sometimes you feel like you're just sitting there with your hands behind your back. Like, oh gosh, here comes something, here comes another question. This gives you a little bit of control to feel prepared and know that you're ready to, you're ready to provide some real answers without being afraid of what kind of questions you're going to get. Because if you have the good examples already, then you just go right to those right off the bat. And it requires, you'll be less nervous, you'll be more confident in the interview, and go from there. What other questions can I answer? Gotta be more.
I'll ask one if no one else has one. So how do you deal with difficult patients or like patients who are more reluctant to complete their exercises?
Yeah, that's a challenge that we have every single day. In this profession, you have to be able to work with all types of people, and you have to learn that your way or what you may have in your mind of how you're going to go about a situation may not always fit for dealing with that individual who brings their own set of thoughts, their own background. Maybe they've had a horrible day. Maybe something that, you said already ticked them off a little bit unknowingly. So there's just so many variables that go into actually dealing with real breathing humans. So I think understanding that you have to meet people where they are. So for example, I had a patient this afternoon. I was doing an eval. she just straight up told me, she said, I don't want to do any exercise. I hurt too bad. I can't do any of that. And I'm in my mind, I know like this lady's got to do exercise. She's weak as water. If she has any hope of feeling better and getting stronger, she has to exercise. If I would have said that right then and there, she just shut me off and probably not came back for a second visit and just been mad at me. So rather than doing that, I said, okay, I get it. I said, it's not fun to have this kind of pain. Why don't let's work really hard to get your pain levels down a little bit. And then once we get your pain levels down some, then we can try to very slowly kind of get you back into exercise progressively. And she was open to that. That made her feel comfortable knowing that I cared and that I understood where she was coming from, and was willing to kind of work with her where she was at rather than trying to force something on her. I think you have to figure out where people are at and be willing to meet them there halfway, but still with the mindset of a plan of, okay, I know where they're at now, but I'm eventually going to get them to here by, encouraging them, showing them that I care, and also showing them that what I'm doing is actually working. So I think that's probably the easiest way to answer that question.
All right, thank you. Also, I just want to add before anyone asks any more questions, I don't pay for Zoom, so like it gives me a time limit. So if it turns off, it says it's gonna turn off in like 9 minutes. Just get back on the Zoom if we're still talking about it. Everybody just click the Zoom link and I'll be back on here. Okay, Haley, Hannah, Josh, do you guys have any questions? Or statements, they don't have to be questions. If you guys just want to. Josh, we can't hear you real well. I don't know. You sounded a little.
I had a question, another one, if no one else has one. I'm not doing the whole PT route anymore, but I would just ask you questions that kind of stressed me out when I was doing it. So like I always was kind of worried about like how I would pay or how I would just live throughout PT school, like where I was going to live, how I was going to afford where I was going to live. That kind of stuff. Like, cause I know you can't have a job, right?
Yes, it's really difficult to work in PT school. I have heard of many people doing it. I don't know how they did it, but it's very difficult. So when I went through PT school, I basically had to take out loans and had to live off loans. I was fortunate enough to have a little bit of support from my family too, where they helped me out a little bit, but most of my expenses were covered by loans. There's not a whole lot of scholarships or anything like that for PT school, unfortunately, or for any graduate school, really. So a lot of it's loans, and that's why I'm trying to preach to you guys: don't go to the most expensive school if you don't have to. Go to the one where you can, come out of school with the least amount of debt and be able to pay it off or be forgiven or whatever as quickly as you can. But yeah, it was basically loans for me, and then it requires a lot of time and financial savviness to pay those back and get those off your shoulders. My little brother's in med school right now, so for PT school debt compared to med school debt, not even comparable. And my brother's in a DO school. He's at Liberty University in Lynchburg, Virginia. So, the debt for medical professionals is crazy. It's out of hand, but it's something that you got to make sure that you weigh when you select your school choice.
Okay, Josh, did you have a question? We couldn't hear you last time.
So right now I'm in the middle of getting observation hours. How many hours do you recommend getting?
Well, I don't know what the specific requirements are right now as far as even applying on PTCAS and all that. Taylor, you can maybe clue me in on that.
Okay, so most schools, from what I've observed, the ones that I've looked into applying to have been like 50 to 100, but they truly vary. Like some schools don't require them at all. Some schools won't even let you won't let you put them in at all. Some schools require upwards of 200, but I would say like the minimum would be 100 from my perspective.
I would definitely have the minimum for sure, but really to your benefit would be to get just as many as you can. And I think being able to do it in multiple different sectors of physical therapy. So that's another thing about PT is there's so many different areas that you can practice in. I mean, you could practice in the nursing home, you could practice in the home health setting, you could do outpatient, you could do sports, you could do pediatrics, you can do wound care. I mean, there's so many different options. So my best advice to you would be to just do as much as you can. I know that time is a limiting factor, but just do as much as you can. Find somebody that's willing to let you come and shadow and just wear it out, and get as many hours as you possibly can.
Thank you. And if anyone needs observation hours, you can message me privately. I know a few clinics here in Richmond that allow you to do those. So yeah, if I know a few people that would let you shadow. Does anyone have any other questions?
We'd also, at Resilience in Winchester, we'd also be willing to let you guys come and shadow too. So
yay, yeah, that would be so fun. It's only 30. It's literally 28-minute drive from here. I live on campus, so from Richmond it would be 28 minutes.
Yeah, just get in contact with me and we'll talk about it. Yeah, we would love. One of our biggest missions is getting people in PT school, and we currently have. So we have three of our former techs are in PT school right now. We had one that just graduated from PT school, so that's pretty good for a clinic that's only been in existence for about 5 years. So
yes, and shadow, even if you don't have time to work, shadowing at a clinic for a long period of time looks really good on a resume because that shows that you stuck with it as if it were a job, even though you may not be going there regularly or not getting paid. It still looks really good, obviously. So yeah.
So finding good people to write you letters of recommendation. You want to have good, strong PTs write your letters of recommendation. If I'm on the selection committee for a PT school and you apply and you don't have any PTs that have written you a strong letter of recommendation, it's going to be very hard for you to get in. So you really need to find somewhere, latch onto a PT, and prove your worth to them, prove what you can do, and that you're dedicated and really want to do this so that you can get somebody that will write you a good letter of recommendation.
Yes. Also, I'm pretty sure, all the ones I applied to, and I applied to 7 schools, they require you to have an observation letter by a PT. And try to a lot of PTs won't write a letter of recommendation if you don't have a strong personal connection with them. So really ask them questions, obviously we're doing now with Dr. Sharrock. You can ask them about where they went to school, build that connection with them so that you actually have a stronger connection when they're writing about you and they don't just talk about your position, I guess is what I would say. So they have something more to go on.
Yeah, I've had students before that have just been done 10 hours of observation when they wrote a letter of recommendation. I'm sorry, I really don't have enough information to do that for you or give you a recommendation that you're wanting. Yeah, they're spot on that.
Yes, and the same thing, I just want to add in really quick, the same thing with your professors, because I've had 2 professors turn me down for letters of recommendation because they didn't know me on a personal level. So if I could go back, I would stay and chat with my professors after class, just ask them questions, speak up in class, even if you don't want to, just do it. It's annoying, but it's not that bad. So really talk to your professors, especially the ones here at EKU, because I know for a fact the advisors in this major here at EKU will not write a letter of recommendation if they don't know you very well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Does anyone have any more questions? If not, we'll go ahead and wrap up. We've got less than a minute on the Zoom, and I figured now's oh, go ahead, Hannah.
That's 5 days a week. Yeah. For most programs, it's 5 days a week. Maybe in like the beginning of the program, you may have like a day off or so, but most of the time it's 5 days a week. Yeah.
That was actually a really good question because I didn't know that either.
Yeah. Before we run out of time, if you guys ever need anything, want to come observe, contact me at Resilience. You can find us on Facebook.